The other day, a bird flew by offering its services. I asked how much. The bird said, cheap, cheap. Welcome to Monday Morning Musings. Yesterday, I was able to watch the final episode of, turns out, the first season, surprise, surprise, of The Vow, which is about that cult NXIVM you may have heard about back in 2018 with Keith Raniere being arrested, Allison Mack, who is an actress on Smallville, and also in the third Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie. Yeah, that has been a fascinating documentary. Some people have complained that it's been a little bit too stretched out, but I'm going to talk about why they may have done that, especially what they're going to do in season 2, perhaps. But first, something was bothering me throughout the entire show. Bonnie, for some reason, seemed familiar, looked familiar, like I had seen her from somewhere, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Until the 9th episode, when her and her husband Mark, who are two figure points definitely in this documentary, go to the storage facility where they put pretty much their entire lives, their apartment, on hold. And you saw this giant stack of all these different items, a toaster oven, rugs, curtains, etc. And she was going through different moments of her life and different, she's going through a document that was pretty fascinating. But she said, oh yeah, there's an action figure of me. Here's my action figure. And it dawned on me, there it was. Bonnie played Aru in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. All right? It finally clicked into place. But the revelations with her and the diabolical nature of Keith Raniere and diving into the nature of a psychopath, those sections were very fascinating. And it took quite a build-up to get there. But because there's so much documentation, there is so much evidence of the interactions and what the people are doing, because Mark is a documentary filmmaker, once you see it in the lens of this is how a psychopath operates, it became quite a different type of story. And the reminder that his second in command, I forget the woman's name, but that her daughter, Lauren, who was one of these ringleaders in the whole DOS program, I mean, this woman was okay with her daughter being branded and being part of this sex group under Keith Raniere's control. And it teased at the end, spoilers, it teased at the end that they are talking to that person, the mom. So this entire organization was able to create its networking arm and entrench itself into the rich because Keith Raniere and his program would attract themselves to the rich. And you saw that really detailed with Mexico in the latest episode. But the Brofmans, I believe is their name, they had been financing and facilitating most of the finances for the group for a long time. Well, after Keith Raniere was brought down, and as the documentary describes at the end, he says, oh, there's more to say. There's more to talk about. Do you want to see how deep this goes? This is just the surface. I'm like, what? What is he talking about? If you take a step back and look at the context of the uber rich and what the uber rich do once they have conquered money, right? They're paranoid and they deal with blackmail and subterfuge, and there's that type of paranoia because, yeah, they have everything locked away when it comes to their wealth, but it's people's opinions, the world's opinions, the law that they have to look out for just in case. A lot of them think they're above the law because of the amount of money that they have. The reason I bring up all these different elements is because after the Keith Raniere case, who was the next billionaire that was taken down, that was involved with diabolical sex cults or something like it? Jeffrey Epstein. So if you look at what they're trying to tease at the end of season 1 for The Vow and what Keith Raniere could possibly contribute to anybody in society in a season 2, you start to realize, wait a second, the uber rich network functions differently. It is crazy and diabolical, and I welcome you to research it for yourself, and especially the reporting done by a number of different people. Whitney Webb is somebody that comes to mind, of just detailing to you what these uber rich are up to day to day. I'm not saying all of them are evil, but there is a different mindset, a different way these people think and interact when it comes to the human experience when you have that much wealth. And I believe that's what Keith Raniere is hinting towards, that this uncovers a much larger network of what the uber rich that don't have really any empathy for other human life are up to. So if they dive into that in season 2, this could blow open more of these types of organizations and the predatory nature of putting people down, destroying them, and then trying to build them back up within your cult. So that part, hopefully, for season 2 will be fascinating. If not, they have really stretched this thing out, which I thought could have been 4 or 5 episodes, but it was 9 and now a whole other season. So we'll see where it goes, HBO Max. But maybe some of the producers at HBO Max thought, we need content. We can't film a whole bunch of stuff because of COVID. But Mark and his team were able to record almost everything that happened across their, 7 to 9 year experience with NXIVM. So if that's what HBO has to do, that's what they have to do. The cafe scene in the last episode when Bonnie and Mark were talking about them being back to some random patrons in a cafe. And one of the patrons said, oh, yeah, I had one meeting with them, but it was weird. And I would think that I would notice if I'm going to be in a cult or not. And I loved Bonnie's reaction because she said, you may have had an unfortunate experience, a bad experience, and that turned you off. But Mark and myself, we had great experiences with great people. And that's the most heartbreaking part about it, is even though you are in this weird shit, according to the rest of the world and according to reality, you are cultivating so much of these great experiences with like-minded people that's what keeps the bond together. And that's what helps you stay outside or stay inside and insulated from the outside world. Well, what happens if there's a pandemic and you can't link up together and you can't reinforce each other with that type of brainwashing, be it cult, religion, whatever? It starts to erode. And we are seeing the strong grip of some faiths or groups or whatever you want to call them that demand so much of their members that it's falling apart because they can't keep indoctrinating them or brainwashing them or create the feeling of guilt for them not showing up, to the meetings. And between this and the Scientology documentary Going Clear, you see how that self-infliction happens to people. And you especially saw it with Bonnie, where she thought she did something wrong within the group, so she had to punish herself. Overall, it shows how humans can be malleable. And when you have this type of giving of your instinct, trying to get past your fears, as Keith Raniere would say, in order to listen to a philosopher, to a guru, if you have to sacrifice the instinct of who you are as a human, that's a red flag. That is a problem. And I would hope anybody who encounters any type of groups or information or ideas that require that, the destruction of your own ego and consciousness, so your consciousness is now formed and built around the concept of this cult and its doctrine, those are the red flags. But it happens slowly. If somebody comes to you and tells you all these things day one, you're not going to be on board. But as you're slowly manipulated into realizing this is good for you, this is better for you. Anyways, if you're interested in that type of realm, watch the documentary. If it runs a little long for you, so be it. But the 9th episode really was a revealing episode. I have not been able to watch the last 2 episodes of Lovecraft Country, but that's the other show that I've been super hyped about this fall season. I wanted to take my time with it because the shows are so visually powerful, and I love the color palette and the production, so I really want to digest every moment that I can. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to wait a week to see what happens. I'd rather boom, boom, knock it out. So I'm going to try to knock out those 2 today, if not tomorrow. And that's what's happening in the realm of my television watching. Also great, I guess I'm just pushing all this stuff on HBO right now, but a great breakdown of the role of the World Health Organization and the type of role they should be playing in the world from John Oliver, and also his fun rivalry with Dan Barry. Okay, enough of the HBO stuff. The The fun part about this last week was when I went to yoga, I usually bike there, and somebody decided that they were going to throw industrial size staples on the bike route. Unfortunately, as I was rolling up to yoga, my rear tire was deflated. I found one of the staples in the tire that punctured it. So during yoga, I'm doing my cat-cow going, God damn it, I got to walk all the way home, carrying my bike. But I'm, thinking this. I can't say it out loud in the class. Made it through yoga, walked the bike home. Wasn't too bad. But the funny part about it is every time I pass by a pedestrian walking along the sidewalk or along the walking path, I felt like this giant douchebag walking with the bike going, why aren't you riding your bike? So as I would approach, I'd wave and go, yeah, flat tire, just to assuage the situation. Like, why are you walking when you have a vehicle? The hills going up were not that fun, but we made it. And then yesterday, it was the rear tire. I took the rear tire off the bike, took a belt through the tire, looped it around my shoulder, and carried it 2.7 miles to the bike store. I thought about taking a lift, but you know what? The whole point of getting a bike is to cut down on fossil fuels. Some days I feel like a lift if it's raining super hard up here in the Pacific Northwest, but it was not that case. I knew I could walk it. So I hiked all the way down the hill. They were able to repair it for me, and I was also able to put on order one of those kits in a bag that you tie to your bike in case you get a flat and it has an extra tube and all that stuff. Definitely need it for next time, but they're out because so many people are buying bikes, so many people are buying accessories that I had to put it on back order. Either way, the guy was able to inflate my tire, and I walked it all the way back home. And the funny part about it is it's all downhill on the way there, but then it's all uphill on the way back. So the tire being inflated is going to weigh a bit heavier. And I'm like, oh, shoot, this is heavier than I thought it would be after a while. But I got up there and I reminded myself, okay, check the PSI of what he put in there because I had been putting in 40 because that's what I thought that I read on the tire. And wow, did I make a mistake. It's 60 PSI and it's written right there. And I thought, where did I get 40 from? Is because I looked at a different part of the tire and it was a different measurement. So I learned something. 60 PSI for the Trek 2 bike is what you should be using. And shout out to disc brakes. Those things are great. Way better than the pedal brakes on the tire. So that was a fun experience of getting to know my bike and putting it back together, put the bike back in, slotted it in, tightened it up, and then rode it to the dispensary and back, which was 8.2 miles. I was exhausted at the end of the day, which is another reason why I could only get through the vow. And then after that, I'm like, sorry, Lovecraft Country. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go to sleep after I watch John Oliver, and boom, here we are. So I'll let you know next week for sure what I think about Lovecraft Country. But what an original, fun, crazy show. And to really show the horrors of Jim Crow. And I'm grateful that HBO has made these decisions. Watchmen, which won so many Emmys from last year. I had no idea the riots in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 took place. I never even heard of them until Watchmen. I thought, this is real? This actually happened? So be educated. And I am grateful that art is able to educate so many people, especially about stuff that is horrendous and a lot of folks would like to sweep under the rug and try to forget about. The upcoming content and the upcoming rumors and thoughts with so many multiverse stuff happening with Spider-Man and also Batman and the Flash. It's really cool to see that type of creativity being unfurled and the options of having different types of characters all at the same time. I just wonder I wonder where creativity will go from there, right? It's like, all right, we've included everything that we've done within the umbrella of Warner Brothers and Batman, and now we're going to do everything with Spider-Man, but where do we go from here? And that's where I think locking into place, Benedict Cumberbatch's character, Doctor Strange, and him being kind of the lead figure, the guide, or at least trying to figure out how the multiverse works. And since, Tony Stark is gone in this story and him filling that role, it's not just the science tech, it's the mystical, the spiritual. And I wonder what type of what type of further creativity we'll see in that realm. I bring this up because with the advent of my personal experience with ayahuasca and DMT and experiencing the multiverse for myself, how exciting it is to see that portrayed to a semblance of accuracy, or at least going, I know that person's been on an ayahuasca trip. And I felt that way watching Lovecraft Country with Hippolyta's character and the journey that she went on. I thought, yeah, this is what ayahuasca kind of felt like when I got to see all the different lives that I lived on in the multiverse. Whew, yeah, deep stuff. The rumors going around too regarding casting and whatnot. It's weird because you think, oh, this is exciting news. This person is cast, but when are they going to film it? So there's cool announcements being made, but then there's a caveat of, it's going to be a couple years before we've even seen it. Another big exciting announcement was Michael B. Jordan's production company is going to oversee the creative endeavors of Static Shock, which is a character I'd love to see either animated, small screen, or big screen. Not much further information about that other than that type of announcement. But again, how far along is that? Are Warner Brothers and HBO going to want to fast track it to get up and going as soon as they can? These type of production questions have been really swimming in my mind throughout this entire event, but in particular with the exodus of California for a lot of people. But the bubble, the type of set that was made for The Mandalorian, and how they are in an isolated area, yet all the different places that Mando went to, from storage hangars on a spacecraft to all these different planets, seemed real, felt real, and I didn't even think that they were in front of a digital screen until after that was revealed in the behind-the-scenes footage. When Mando, is on the speeder, when you have that desert landscape behind him, it felt real. It felt like they actually went and filmed in those areas. So this entire event, this entire virus, has really showcased and pushed forward a lot of technology. The Batman, which is filming in London, had some delays, be it COVID, be it Robert Pattinson, whatever. The production photos look so good, and I was able to mention that in my podcast with Ishmael Stenson, but the production photos for the film look like there's a lot of great decisions being made. So despite all of the headaches, the drawbacks, the setbacks, and the conundrums that we find ourselves in of trying to plow forward in the production realm and the production world and not get anybody sick, I'm sure has been a logistical headache for a lot of people. But we can be patient as an audience. We're all in this together. And I look forward to the type of content that was created during this time to see how it all lands in the future. And if they're going to have to delay, they're going to have to delay. Everything's delayed, all right? Everything's delayed. Well, that's just how this year is going to work. All right, this upcoming week, I'm going to be doing at least 2 podcast episodes. I have my buddy Axel Toss. We're going to talk about StarCraft. We had built our careers from StarCraft 2, and he has gone on to Rocket League and a number of other endeavors, but having him up here in the Pacific Northwest is great. And then I'm going to bring on Matt, my fellow bartender. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange, comics, and more about these rumors circulating and who we'd like to see maybe cast in some of these roles in the future. I look forward to seeing what new updates are going to be coming out for Mortal Kombat 11's Ultimate version with Rain, Melina, and Rambo. We should have some gameplay videos coming out for them very soon. Many, many people were excited to see what Rain was all about, especially all his costumes. They did him right. And Cyberpunk 2077 is a month out, but I don't think I'm going to be able to play it on day one because I can't afford a new console, and I'd prefer to play it in its 4K masterpiece type of, the way it's meant to be played, the way it was developed. But we'll see. We'll see. So in the video game world, that stuff's exciting. But I definitely will be streaming this week. Maybe some Grand Theft Auto, but for sure, more Mortal Kombat 11 with Katana. You can follow me on all the socials, Mr. Joshua Gray. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.